Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This shir is entitled A Crash Course in the Arba Minim. A quick overview of the halachot of the 4 Minim that we're supposed to take on Sukkot. So we have Siman Tafresh Mem Hey, that's the halacha of Lulav. Some of the key points regarding Lulav, of course there's many details that we cannot get into, but some of the basics at least. Of course, a person should talk to Rav about the specific Lulav and Etrog to make sure that everything is all right. So the basics, here they are. Tafresh Mem Hey talks about the Tiomet. Now, what is the Tiomet? We want to have the Tiomet nice and closed, according to the posting. But what does that mean? What is the Tiomet and nice and closed? Is it astringency? It's din? What is it? So there are different opinions. Most commentaries say Tiomet is each of the double leaves are considered a tiomet, and only if most of them are split all the way down is there a problem. Rashi says the middle leaf, that's called a tiomet, and if that's nechleka, split, then there's a problem. But Rashi says split means where that middle leaf is split all the way down to the spine, which means when people go ahead and they look to make sure that the lulav's totally closed on top, where's that from? So the Gra says that even if it's split most of the way down, that's a problem. Okay, so the middle leaf, it cannot be split most of the way down. Still, why is everyone looking for it to be closed? Because the Ramah says that ideally you want it totally closed. The Haddasim says what that means is totally, literally totally closed. The Taz says no, even if it's up to a tefach closed, that's good enough. 8 centimeters, that's also fine. So in terms of din, almost every lulav is going to be kosher regarding this aspect, because in terms of din, as long as it's mostly closed, it's fine. In terms of the chumrah, mahadrin, and there's a hidur to have it totally closed or almost totally closed. Some say the reason is because you're going to shake it, and then each day it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to open up before you even realize. So that's why there is such a chumrah. But in terms of din, if it's mostly closed, it's fine. Then there's something else called hemnek. Hemnek means where it is closed, and there's no problem of tiomet, of splitting apart, but the top is like that. It looks like 2. And that could happen. That's very common. The Mishnah Berurah is very strict about that. And the poskim say that there are some leniencies over here, that only when it splits apart, if it just, both of them are going up, it's a little split, that's not a hemnik. Or Chazoni says if one is going up and one veers off a little bit, that's not hemnik. Only when it clearly is split apart. Some poskim say it's only when you look and you see right away, hey, there's something different over here. But otherwise it's not. So there, a person should go ahead and show that to the Rav if it looks like it's split apart, to see if that really is a problem of hemnik or not. Then you have on certain lulavs, it's covered by korah, by this brown material that covers it up. It grows with it. Some poskim, the Kafachayim Sfardim, actually like that because it keeps it nice and closed. And therefore we know, and we can assume, even if you can't see the top, we can assume it's closed well. And there's no hemnik, and it's not nechleka tiomet, and therefore the Kafachim says he actually likes that. Some Ashkenazim don't like that for 2 reasons. A, maybe underneath it really isn't closed properly. Maybe there is a hemnik, we're not seeing it. And maybe the fact that it's filled in with this other material doesn't help. And B, the Ramah says that when we do the shaking, we should actually make it shake, make a little bit of a noise. And therefore, when it's totally closed by the korah on top, then it doesn't make that kiskus sound, this shaking sound, and therefore many Ashkenazim do not like that covering. What about when it's kafuf, the top leaf is bent over? So the Rosh says, ohev ani latzef, because I actually like that, because I know that when they're bent over like that, it keeps it nice and tight, and therefore he says he likes it. Other Rishonim did not go for that. They said there's a different kind of look. There's not a typical kind of a look. And therefore they said we should not use it. Shulchan Aruch is fine with it, but there are those opinions who are not, who don't embrace that. And everyone should follow the minhag and the psak of their Rav. Some also had a concern that if they're all tight together, once again when you shake it, it's not going to have that shaking sound at all. And they have that issue there as well. That's an overview of some of the basic issues regarding a lulav. One other point is that the whole lulav should not be bent, meaning when it's facing, I'm holding it, if it bends towards me, it's a little bit, that's all right. But if it bends sidewards or bends forward, that is a problem. Shulchan says it's almost like a sickle, which really it's seriously, seriously bent. Not too often does that happen in our lulavs. There are those that try to find a totally straight lulav, but that is not on the top of list of Hidurim. The list is, as we said, the other issues that we mentioned. So that is an overview of some of the halachot of Lulav. That's Taf Reish Mem Hey. Taf Reish Mem Vav is the halachot of Haddasim. And the main point is Haddasim has to be mishulash. It has to have 3 leaves growing out of on each level. You cannot have 1 leaf here, 2 leaves here, 1 leaf here, 2 leaves here. It's 3 growing in a ring. And that means the okets, according to Rashi, actually 3 grow from the same okets, from the same stem, the same exact point. But the most Rishonim say it means that the 3 grow on the same level. Does that mean they all start at the exact same point? So Chazon Ish says no. As long as the 3 stems, at some point there's a crossover, you can take a string and wrap it around and hit all 3 stems, then that is enough to be Mishulash. Shevet Levi says if you take a look and it looks like it's all coming from the same place, you don't need to have real histaklo. You take a look and you see it looks like they're pretty much Mishulash. That's fine. But most people try to have Mishulash where there's a crossover like the Chazon Ish says. And then you want to have a Mishulash throughout the whole shiur of 3 tfachim. 3 tfachim, according to Chaim Na'eh, is about 24 centimeters, and 3 tfachim, according to the Chazon Ish, is more like 30 centimeters. And you want to have it all Mishulash. You want to have the leaves in 3, 3, 3 all the way up. The poskim do say if rove is Mishulash, as long as the majority is Mishulash, that's also fine and ideal. If you can get all Mishulash for those 3 tfachim, that's the best. Then there's a question, what does it mean, rov mishulash? Do we say that if it has to be 30 centimeters, so as long as I have 16 of the centimeters as mishulash, that's enough? Or do we go by the kanim, the branches? And if we have 20 branches, then we have to have 11 of those branches mishulash. Different opinions on that. And if the leaves fall off, some say, well, as long as you have 2 out of 3 leaves on all the levels, that's also good. Ideally, we should try to have a mishulash, 3 leaves on each level, all the way up, at least for the 3 tfachim. If they do fall off, or if it's not mishulash all the way, then there are different opinions to rely in different situations. Do you want the leaves to be continuous or no? You have one level of mushulash leaves, and then a few centimeters above you have the next level, and you see plenty of the branch, and not all covered by the leaves. And Mishnah says, no, you really want everything covered by the leaf. One leaf covers up to the next row of mushulash, and so on till the top. Chazon Ish says, no, doesn't really need to be that way. And as long as you have the rows mishulash, doesn't matter whether it actually covers the branch or not. Niktam rosho, if the top is cut off and the leaves cover the top of the branch, you can't even see the top is cut off, then the host can say that it is still kosher. So those are some of the basic halachot of Haddasim. Moving on to Arava. So basically, the Shulchan Aruch Paskin Tavish means I have to know that it's a proper Arava branch, and there's different signs to show. And everything we buy in the market, the assumption is those are Aravot. There we're pretty makil that Shulchan Aruch says as long as the majority of leaves are still on, it is kosher. Mishnah says it's kosher, but some would say it is best to have another Arava. And it's so easy to have one, to just buy another one once, twice throughout Sukkot, then have one that has all the leaves on it if possible. And also, if it withers a bit, if it's totally yavesh and it just becomes brittle, that's a problem. If it just kamush, it's just withering a bit, it is still kosher. Once again, Mishnah says, are those that say that since it's so easy to replace, it's a nice thing to do. So usually the Arava are going to be replaced once, twice throughout Sukkot, so that it could be lechatchila ideal the whole way through. Then we have Tov Reish Mem Chet, that's halacha of Etrog. And Etrog, we have issues. You cannot have a chaser where his piece is missing. where a chunk actually is taken out, if it lost a piece from a thorn along the way, the Ramah says that's fine, it's a natural part of its growth, but the Mishnah Berurah says what it means is that it happened during the growth and that it sort of filled itself in with a layer. That's when it's fine. But if it's really missing a piece, then that's a problem. What the exact size of an isa? What is that exact size? We don't know. A couple of millimeters. But if it is missing something that is a problem, we don't know the exact size, we should try to find another one. If it looks, you look at it, you can't tell, is it missing or not? There are those that say that maybe it's a sfeika, that maybe only if it's missing a certain amount is there a problem. And here you don't even know if it's missing anything, but lechatchila we try to have an etrog where it's not missing anything at all. Then we have the question of the pitum. If it grows pitumless, that's fine. That's how it grew. And if it grew with the pitum and then the pitum fell off before it was picked, many say that is fine. If Yashas was just dried out, that was its natural way to grow. So some say that's fine, but there are different opinions on that. If Yashiv was nervous about the whole pitum situation, and he preferred having a pitum just to know that it has a pitum, it grew with a pitum, and it's not a case of someone selling you one that supposedly had a pitum, but then it fell off, and he was nervous about that. But many poskim say, no, we have certain orchards where it grows this way, and we can assume that those are fine. If the pitum, just the shoshanta, is cut off, then that is fine. Some say you do ideally want the shoshanta, that's the top part. The stick that's connected to the etrog, if that falls off, so there's different opinions. If it totally fell off, then it's a problem. What if there's something left above the surface? Then many say that is fine. Others argue. Ideally, you want to go ahead and have the little branch and the shoshanta connected. If the shoshanta is not there, it is still fine. If the piece right on the shoshanta is partially there, many shittas say it's still fine. If it's totally gone, but the hole is still filled in, many say that's fine. And if it's totally empty, then that's for sure pasul according to all different opinions. And because of this complication of how much could be left from the pitum, and because often it gets knocked around and it gets knocked out, so that's why some prefer to have the etrog that doesn't have a pitum at all. So we discussed chaser, we discussed the pitum. The color we want, it cannot be that deep green. But the problem is not inherent. If it's going to start changing to yellow, that's fine. Even if you use it while it's green, if you know it's going to change. Of course, how do you know it's going to change? So the poskim suggest to make sure it already begins to change color, to turn yellow, so you know it's already in the process, so you can be sure it is the green that will turn to yellow. That's regarding the coloring. Regarding the dots, so the dots, if there is a black dot that comes from the etrog itself, not from the risus, from the different processes that it went through. We used that there was pesticides and this and that caused the black. That really is fine. The thing is, we can't always know. You need an expert to know if the black really comes from within or just came from the treatments. So theoretically, you can have black spots that are fine, just not always so easy to know what's a natural black spot and which is not. So the black spot, if it's on the chotem is the top part where it starts angling in towards the pitum. That's the Rosh's opinion, that we follow the Rosh's opinion. That's the top part. The Rashi says it's a little bit of a lower area, and Rambam and others say it's really the pitum area, but we follow the Rosh Shulchan Aruch that way, that it's the part that angles in. That's the slope. That's the chotem. And in that area, any black dot, it knocks it out right away. While if it's the lower half, then 1 black, 2 black dots are fine. 3 black dots depends. If it's in a little area, it's all on one side that you could see all of them, and it's just a little area on the bottom or on the top part, on the bottom part, not the top part, you have a few dots, black dots, that's fine. If the dots are spread around the etrog, that if you take a thread and put it through all the black dots, it would surround the whole or most of the etrog. The Mishnah Berurah is stringent in that case. Well, the Chazon Ish said that's fine. Chazon Ish says the only time you have a problem is if these 3 black dots are spread all over the place, that if you go ahead and take a thread with all 3 black dots, it would cover most of the area of the etrog. That's what's a problem with the 3 black dots. But if they're all in one line on the bottom, it would just like surround it. That is not rove in any way. So it's a machlokas Chazon Ish and Mishnah Berurah about the black dots and the bottom half. If the black dots are totally under the etrog, right near the oketz part where it grew from the tree there, and if it's, you could hardly even see it, it's right in the oketz and it goes in, everyone will be fine with that. Some say no, if it's just on the bottom and you don't see that part, it is fine as well. What does it mean that I could see the black dots? So the Shulchan Aruch Tafresh Mem Ched, the Mishnah Berurah Mem Vav, and the Shartzion Mem Tet say that it means that I could want to take a look at it in a normal way that I hold it. Riyah Rishona, I take a look, and I don't see the black dot. Shulchan Aruch Harav writes it beautifully. Riyah Rishona, I take a look, I turn it around in my hand, and I go by what most people would see. Someone who has excellent vision is not a good judge here. Someone who has poor vision is not a good judge. It's the average person holding approximately 40 or so centimeters away from his eye, the way he would normally hold it when he does the mitzvah. And during that time, he goes ahead, takes a quick look, turns it around, doesn't see any black dot. Now, yes, if you look closely, you'll see the black dot. And then afterwards, when you look at it from distance, oh, I see that black dot, doesn't matter. It means when I take a look, Riyah Rishona, my first look, by the average person, a simple look at it, that's enough. And then if I don't see the black dot, even though it might be there, it doesn't matter. And even though I could see with the naked eye when I study, no, that's not what it goes by. The hadar goes by the beauty, and beauty is by how it looks. And therefore, that's what determines if there's halachically a black dot or not. That applies on the top, or that applies on the bottom section where I might have 3 that can be problematic. Same thing. Bletlach is another big question. Those brown spots where I feel them, there's different opinions regarding that. Some say you have the Trumas Hadeshin, and the Maharil spoke about. Some say that if it's that the Bletlach are fine. Why? Because they're not raised up. Others say it's fine because it's a natural look of the etrog. It happens while it's developing. The leaves are on it while it's developing, and therefore that it's just part of the natural look. So if you say it's a natural look, so then the bletlach are totally fine. If you say because it's not raised, well, what if I feel it raised? So then the question is, how do you define it as raised? So the Stipler says raised means it's really sticking up, protruding. The fact that you feel it, you're going to feel all the bletlach. It's a different texture. You feel it with your fingers. It has to be really raised in a clear, bolate kind of way. That's the problem with bletlach. So Kanevsky is pretty maker. However, the Chaya Adam, Pri Megadim, they're pretty machmir, and they're saying they're not so sure about the leniencies of the Ramah, who he quotes the Maharil and Trumas Hadeshin, that if it's not raised or it's the natural way that it grows, and they prefer not to have any bletlach. So therefore, they would avoid all bletlach on the top level of the chotem, and they'd avoid more than 2 or 3 on the bottom area. So you'll have many people, when they buy an etrog, they will not have any bletlach on the top area. There are many opinions who are lenient, especially if it's not raised at all. Some, like Rav Kanievsky, are lenient even if it's slightly raised, if it's not really bolate and clearly raised up, just slightly. And then you can have those who are want to be in the Mahadran area and go ahead and not have any bletlach on the top area. And of course, all the different opinions are fine. The shape of the etrog, so the Shulchan Aruch says you cannot have a round one like a ball. It doesn't say what you should have. So the Tiferes Yisrael says you want to have a perfectly symmetrical etrog, where it's totally straight, meaning that's a nice shape and not like a ball in any way, more like a tower type, and the oket stem is perfectly symmetrical with the pitam on top. Some say that we don't really hold by that Tiferes Yisrael. Some are machmir, that's not like a din that many embrace. And some might consider a hidor. Kaf HaChaim says, no, where do you find? A bent Lulav is a problem. Where do we see that a ben etrog, where it's not symmetrical, is a problem? And the kafachim and others are mekel, and others are lenient, and others are more stringent in this area. But it's important. First, people sometimes think that's the most important thing, to have perfectly straight etrog when it's not open. The Gemara is shown if it's a Teferi Surah, which of course is a major poseg, but it's important to have a perspective on that one. So those are some of the halachas of an etrog. Of course, cannot be mokav, it cannot be grafted from the lemon and an etrog together, but hopefully everything that we're getting in the shuk is clearly not that way. And that's basically an overview of the Arba Minim. Taf Reish Mem Hey, Sima Taf Reish Mem Hey is the halachas of Lulav. Then you have Haddasim. Then you have Arava. And then finally you have Etrog. And those are some of the basics. Not all, but some of the basic halachot of the Arba Minim. Shalom.